Let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Whatever time zone you're in, hello and welcome to Crash Course with Delaney Brown. Today we'll be talking about William Shakespeare's timeless classic, Romeo and Juliet. First, let's talk a little bit about the timing. It was a time of peace, it was a time of feud, it was a time of friends, it was a time of foes, it was a time of love, and it was a time of misery. That sounds kind of familiar. Kind of like the opening sentence paragraph of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. See that? William Shakespeare and Charles Dickens in one movie. Take that, Monsieur Skis. Okay, let's get down to business here. Romeo and Juliet is a tale of two star-crossed lovers set in the fair city of Verona. For those of you who don't know, Verona is somewhere in here. Italy. The two young teens are from opposing houses, the Montagues and the Capulets, who have been feuding for many, many years. Like, a lot of years. A lot. So pretty much, Romeo and Juliet went to a party, fell in love, and now look where they are. In the scenes before, the friar had a plan to have Juliet fake her death so she could be with her Romeo. How sweet. Because what good tragedy doesn't have a little death? So she drank the stuff the friar gave her and fell asleep for 48 hours. But, the big but, her family does not know about this. Okay, so that's where our scene takes off.
Oh, Mrs. Brown! Mrs. Brown! Isn't this the scene with the musicians today?
Yes, that's right, me from the past. And I was going to get there before you so rudely interrupted me. God, when will you grow up already? Anyways, back to the musicians. Less than 1,000 years before, medieval music had been introduced. Music was a large part of the culture. The musicians were at mostly every social event, parties, marriages, funerals, etc. Popular instruments at the time were the flute, along with various string instruments. The music tended to be either sacred or secular, which makes sense in our scene because the musicians are supposed to be singing at Juliet's wedding. However, musicians belonged to no one house, unlike the other servants at the time. The servants were nowhere near as extravagant as their nobles. Their clothes were often stiff and uncomfortable. Sometimes a servant would be close with the family and be given special privileges. This would be the case for a servant that nursed a child or children of the house, just like Juliet's nurse. The nurse and Juliet were very close. In many ways, the nurse was more like a mother to Juliet than her own mother was. You can see this in the way they joked around with each other. They told each other everything. The nurse was one of the few people who knew about Romeo and Juliet. The nurse knew about all of it and even schemed with Juliet the whole time. She was there when Romeo and Juliet got married, and she was the one who helped them consummate their marriage. For those of you who don't know, to consummate is to scooty-doo. But even though she and Juliet are so close, the nurse is the one who tells Juliet that she should marry Paris. She acts like she's so concerned about Juliet and tells her that Paris is such a great guy, and a hot one too. But if he's such a great guy, shouldn't she marry him? The other thing is that the nurse knows that marrying Paris would be a sin, like eternity and HE double hockey stick sin. Juliet is already married to Romeo. In the Catholic Church, it don't matter if he banished, they're still married. So then we start to wonder, was she really looking out for her precious Juliet, or was she just looking out for herself? Okay, so let's talk characters. The nurse finds Juliet first and then calls in Juliet's parents, Lord and Lady Capulet. Then Paris comes in because, well, he was going to get married to her. We see how concerned everyone is that Juliet is dead. But wait, didn't her parents just threaten to disown her and throw her on the streets if she didn't marry Paris? That doesn't sound very caring in my book. But now all of a sudden that she's dead, they're very caring and extremely torn up about it. And it's not just the parents. Paris is upset too. But did he even really know Juliet? Other than the, oh, you're a pretty maiden, I'd like to top that. No, he didn't. And her nurse, who just told her to commit a sin that will cause her to go to hell, is weeping at the death of Juliet. And then there's the friar. The friar, the man who knows everything, comes in and, of course, he acts clueless. Oh no, poor Juliet, she looks dead. But secretly he's thinking, ha 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 ha, my formula works. He probably felt a sense of accomplishment there. But he also just found out that Juliet had taken his potion a day early and his foolproof plan might have some difficulty. But he just lets the family think that she's dead and then continues on with his life. Something interesting about this scene is that it is one of the very few scenes that Shakespeare gives us stage directions. Actual stage directions. They still are not a whole lot of stage directions, but they are indeed stage directions. He makes it very clear that all the characters are meant to be talking over each other. This is used to show chaos. Let's go to the thought bubble.
Lord and Lady Capulet, along with Paris and the nurse, are all mourning Juliet's death, soon to be joined by the friar, along with some of the other servants of the household. If Shakespeare had not included the stage directions, each character would be talking one at a time, which would sound a little bit like this.
This sucks. My daughter is dead.
Oh my god, she is dead.
She was so young. This is really sad. Awful.
See, that sounded kind of stupid. Each character talking at one time seems a bit more calm than if all the characters were talking over each other, symbolizing chaos.
Golden flower! No, the golden flower! No, this is sad! This is sad! Wait, what's that? Wait! Oh my god, this is my daughter is dead! Oh no! I don't even know. My daughter is dead! What has happened?
Thanks, Thought Bubble. This scene is a huge example of dual nature of man, one of the prevalent themes in Romeo and Juliet. This scene shows how impulsive these people are with their feelings. Just look at the nurse. For God's sake, she pretty much stabs Juliet in the back, and then in the next scene, she's crying over her like nothing ever happened. The person who we thought was so good turns out to have a little bit of evil in her too. Kind of like the symbol of yin and yang. This goes to prove that in all good there is evil, and in all evil there is good. Put them together, and you have life. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and goodbye. DFTBA.